We kick it off right on time.
Sounds great.
Let's do it. Okay, welcome everybody to our info session for the online master's program in systems engineering. My name is Tom Bradley, and I'm honored to serve as Woodward Professor and Department Head for the Department of Systems Engineering. And at least I'm going to sort of kick off our presentation and discussion today. Next slide, if you don't mind, Catherine. So what we'll just try to talk about a little bit is do a quick intro, welcome you. We'll talk a little bit about systems engineering and what makes our program unique. I'll pass it over to some of our colleagues from CSU Online to talk a little bit about the interface between the department and CSU Online. We'll give you some detailed information about our master's programs and some tips for applying, and then talk a little bit about resources and Q&A stuff. Just exactly as Catherine put into the chat, at any time over the course of this presentation and discussion, feel free to chime in via chat, and we can address those questions as they come up. And then we'll also have some more time for chat and discussion and anything else as we go through. So, okay, let's get started then. A quick intro again. My name is Tom Bradley. Next in line here is maybe I can make a quick intro for Ingrid Bridge. She's our advisor and graduate program coordinator. Lauren Kelly is here from CSU Online. She serves as our success coach. And Steve Gaisford, who is our online program manager for the systems engineering program. And so that's the set of folks who will be talking to you today. All right, so first picture, big picture is to be able to talk a little bit about our department and what we're up to in the Department of Systems Engineering. Obviously, if you're interested in systems engineering, then you have a little bit of a sense for what systems engineering is. Many of our students sort of come to systems engineering from a disciplinary background. You might have gotten your Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering or Mechanical or Civil, and then come and get engaged with the Master of Systems Engineering, after you sort of have built up that disciplinary background. And that's totally appropriate and quite, again, normal for the students who get engaged with our program. Systems engineering is really about being able to design and be able to engineer these, large-scale systems that are the types of problem sets that we work on now in modern engineering. Systems engineering it trains us, is a set of tools that trains us to be able to think about the entire system, the entire, overarching multidisciplinary aspects of large systems. And that is really important when we start to think about the types of problems that we would really like to solve in engineering these days. We all work in fields or want to be able to solve problems that are these most relevant problems of sustainability or of security or of privacy or of defense or big infrastructure or transportation. And these are just intrinsically systems problems. So when we think about that toolkit of what systems engineering is, it really crosses both the sort of technical engineering disciplines, but also kind of bleeds over and is management and human factors and what are called, what NCOSE defines as agreement processes become actually very important components of a systems engineering toolkit. Next slide, if you don't mind, Catherine. So our program in systems engineering has been running for about 12 years now, and we have been offering degrees to professional students and to traditional students on campus for that entire time. We basically have been growing really fast, of course, as the field of systems engineering has been growing really fast. So the need that we hear from our industrial partners and from government and from the national laboratory systems and all these kind of folks like that sort of has really driven the growth of our program and the growth of the students who are in it. One of the really important aspects of our program is that we really work closely with industry. So we sort of our systems engineering department, among all the departments of the College of Engineering at Colorado State University, is really the piece of the College of Engineering that is really most industry focused. So we sort of listen really carefully when industry tells us to do. We have very strong relationships with workforce development efforts at our local industry in Colorado, but also across the nation. And our students are often engaged with industry even as they're doing their work in our master's and doctoral programs. So the idea of that and the purpose of that level of engagement is that we really find, of course, that it serves our students well to have that level of industry engagement. In my opinion, systems engineering is a topic that is maybe a lot of fun to research from your desk, on paper and just with PowerPoint or something. But it's much more interesting, of course, when we can actually solve real problems and we can really work on industry relevant challenges, and when we can work as a team with industry to be able to solve these big challenges that we kind of have described. Next slide, if you don't mind. So then what makes our program unique at Colorado State University? It's a couple of things. Ours is a graduate only program, and we offer a variety of certificates, master's degrees, and doctoral degrees. And the idea is, as a graduate only program, that means that all of the faculty in the program are engaged in teaching and research at graduate level. So we don't have undergraduates, we don't have students from other degrees that participate in our graduate only program. One of the unique aspects of and is really the way we express, for example, our industry orientation, is that all of our courses are offered in 3 different ways all the time. We offer them synchronously online. So you can take every class in our program 5 to 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And we do that to make it so that it's sort of synchronously available to folks who are full-time working or in any time zone across the United States. So you can attend class every week, and that's, I would say, the way that 90% of our students operate. We also have asynchronous online. So of course, life intervenes sometimes, and that's totally part of a professional career and part of being a non-traditional student. And so all of our lectures are recorded. All of the homeworks are available asynchronously online through our learning management systems, sort of, et cetera, et cetera. So even under the circumstances where you just can't get to the classroom at that 1 day a week, you can also participate asynchronously online. And then many of our students are local or are in Fort Collins or even in the Denver sort of metro area. And all of our classes are also offered under normal circumstances in-person classroom formats. Unfortunately, for spring 2020, we have had to not do in-person classroom formats because of the pandemic, constraints from the pandemic, of course. But that doesn't affect our program. We still have students going through and graduating and doing all the things we're doing. Another unique aspect is many of our faculty are experts in systems engineering from both an academic and industrial point of view. I worked in the automotive and utility industries for a couple of years. We have folks who are veterans of DoD in various aspects. We have folks who are actually, sort of co-sited with, great companies that are systems engineering companies, the Lockheed Martins and those kind of folks of the world. So you'll be working with professors that are fully engaged with the most modern systems engineering techniques. I'll try to speed myself up a little bit. I could go on forever, obviously, but you'll also, because our class is, we cater to professional engineers, you will be in class with industry leaders. I'm always continuously impressed with the sort of caliber of students who are attracted to our program, and you will be as well. We have discounts for student veterans and students who are using GI Bill. So if you are a student veteran of any of the U.S. Armed Forces, you should feel free to take advantage of that. And our program is completely integrated with all of the departments of the College of Engineering at Colorado State University. So if you would like, we're not a sort of a silo of systems engineering within the entire college. If you'd like to go and take an advanced math class or an advanced class from our mechanical engineering department or from the electrical engineering department, you're welcome to do so. We apply them to your degree, and they're equally accessible to our students who are online in the systems engineering program as any other student on campus. So to me, at least, these are the ingredients of what I think is a pretty unique offering, and some of the secrets of our success here at Colorado State University, as evidenced by our the great cohort of students that we have. So we have about, we're talking about the master's program. We have about 100 master's students in our program right now. So our classes are vibrant and full of discussion. We have folks, again, who are engaged from basically all over the United States, and so you'll be in good company if you can join us at Colorado State University. With that, then, I make a handoff to Lauren Kelly, who I believe will tell us a little bit about what to expect when you're thinking about your master's degree. Go ahead, Lauren.
Certainly. Thank you, Tom. So like you said, my name's Lauren Kelly, and I serve as the student success coach for all of our engineering programs. So basically what that means is I'm here to help you on the front end of the application process and just really help you get started with the whether it be applying or looking at which degree might be the best fit for you. That's kind of my role, just to help you get started. And then typically what I like to do is send any additional questions to my colleague Ingrid, and she'll introduce herself in a little bit here as well. But I wanted to talk to you today just a little bit about what is CSU Online and how it relates to CSU, what to expect when completing your master's degree, and just what are the benefits of doing a master's online in the first place. So the first part is how does CSU Online relate to CSU? So essentially, CSU Online serves as an extension of the main campus in Fort Collins. So we have the same, like Tom said, the same faculty, the same academic standards, same rigor, same education, just not on campus. And so we're kind of providing access to students who are still looking for the same degrees, but maybe you're working full-time. Maybe you have a family that you need to take care of. We all have our other obligations and life happens. So sometimes the online modality is just going to be the best fit for folks. So when it comes to our particular program, what can you expect while doing your master's online with us? And I think one of the main things I always talk about with students when I talk to you on the phone is really just a little bit about my experience, my personal experience. So I did, like many of you probably, I did my bachelor's and my master's degree on a campus. And right now I'm actually in an online program for my doctoral degree, not systems engineering. So, but, anyway, I would say that the number one thing that I talk to students about when completing your master's degree online is that you're really going to have to learn more about time management, more about self-management. Since our classes are asynchronous, and they do have the synchronous option, but of course if you needed to attend class at a specific time that works the best for you, it makes it really flexible, but it also means that there are other sacrifices you may need to make to be able to stay on top of your coursework. So I'd say that's a big difference from online learning to traditional in classroom learning. I think one of the big things at CSU Online is that you can really anticipate a lot of encouragement from your instructors. You can really anticipate a lot of engagement with them. They're very responsive in my experience working with our instructors, and all of them have office hours as well that they're available to talk with you. As far as like the online modality of instruction, and I know Ingrid will touch on this later as well, but a lot of the online classes that we have a bunch of different elements to them. So you're working with video recorded lectures. peer-reviewed research, articles, journals, textbooks, discussion forums, assessments. So there's a ton of different things that you're doing in your classes, very similar to an in-class format, just in an online setting. So that's what to expect. In terms of the benefits of doing the master's online, I'd say the number one thing is going to be flexibility. That's a huge, huge piece for a lot of our students. If you are currently working full-time and trying to do your master's full-time, you're not alone. I would say the majority of students in this program, like Tom had said, are also working professionals, and they're industry professionals. And so our programs really allow for that greater flexibility and autonomy with coursework. Another thing is just the expert faculty and other working professionals in your classes. You're going to be able to really really expand your horizons with our faculty, and really learn what it takes to be a successful online student from our faculty, as well as from your other students in your classes. So I think that's another benefit, is even if you can't be on campus, you can still have those same interactions or very similar interactions with your instructors, as well as with your classmates. I think another thing too about a benefit of completing online is that you're able to maintain current employment also while shifting your studies to fit your lifestyle, not the other way around. And so I think that's a big benefit for those of us who are needing to keep up with life's demands and also keep up with studies. And then I think another big thing that we often don't think about is that online learning really shows to employers demonstrated self-motivation. I think that that's one of the things that we're really going to see coming out of COVID-19, is that employers are looking for that self-motivation piece. They're looking for students who can be very attuned to technology. So they're looking for students who know how to operate online systems and who know how to and who know how to work in teams in a virtual setting. So I think that's a huge advantage of CSU Online, as well as we work towards a post-COVID-19 world. So those are kind of the basics. So what now? So after our webinar today, I think the next best thing that I would love to do would be to talk with all of you. I know I've talked to a couple of you, I can see in the attendees here, but if I haven't talked with you before, I'd love to chat with you, just get you started with the application. And the best way to do that is my Calendly link. And so I will go ahead and just put that in the chat as well. Calendly.com/Lauren A. Kelly. Lauren Kelly was taken, so Lauren A. Kelly is what you get. But yes, feel free to schedule a phone call with me, and I'm happy to walk you through the application process and answer any other questions. But I will hand it off to the next person.
All right, thank you, Lauren. Great overview of all the benefits of online education. So I am the program advisor for all systems engineering students. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the difference between our master's programs, and then a little bit about some application tips, since on the department side, we are the ones that will review the application. So if you can go to the next slide, Catherine. So one of the most common questions that I will get from prospective students, and in fact, I think we've already had at least one student ask today, is what is the difference between our Master of Engineering degree and our Master of Science degree? Great question, and there are certainly some functional differences here. So the Master of Engineering tends to be a little bit more common in industry, and it is often for students who have a background in engineering and they go out and maybe get some professional experience, and they want to gain a new skill set, i.e. in systems engineering, but they want to head back into industry after they've gained that. So they want to keep working in industry. The Master of Engineering can be a coursework only degree, which makes it very simplified when you actually are considering the process of earning your degree. Coursework only means that you can take 10 of our courses and be done. There's no extra capstone project. There's no other, final evaluations or anything like that. The curriculum is also a little bit more structured. And so we've designed our Master of Engineering program to give you a very solid background in some core areas of systems engineering. And then we allow you to do some systems engineering specific electives. And then we give you a few kind of out-of-department electives if you'd like to. As Tom mentioned, we're very open. You can take all sorts of different types of technical electives that would apply towards your degree. So kind of the essence of the Master of Engineering is that we would want students who graduate to have a very solid and broad background in the systems engineering field. So conversely, the Master of Science tends to be a little bit more common in academia, especially if you're looking at maybe going on for a later degree like a PhD. The Master of Science is generally what we would recommend for you. Although industry has lots of Masters of Sciences. So perhaps this one is a little bit more of the versatile degree here if you're not quite sure what you want to do. The Master of Science does require either a project, kind of like a capstone project, or a thesis, which is a much more intensive research experience. And I would say most of our online students would opt for the project option because that's kind of allows you to do some type of applied project, but it's not intensive academic research, although certainly that is an option if that's what you're interested in. The Master of Sciences have a little bit more of a flexible curriculum. It's really intended to allow you to get the skills that you need to be focused on your specific industry, perhaps your specific research or project idea. You have basically 5 systems engineering courses that you can select, whatever you want, and then you have a few more electives, potentially outside of department electives that you could do versus the Master of Engineering. And then the next slide. We also, just as an example here, 2 points to make. First, on your transcript, you're going through CSU Online, getting an online degree. There will be no mention of an online degree on your transcript. You are getting literally the exact same degree, and your transcript will look exactly the same as an on-campus student. When you're looking at the difference between the ME and the MS and what the degree you're actually earning, this just gives you kind of an example. You have the ME is a major in engineering with a specialization in systems engineering, whereas the MS, your major is systems engineering. So this is just a quick idea of kind of what the end goal is on these two. Now, so I've talked about the Master of Engineering versus the Master of Science. This is the difference between the 2 options in the Master of Science. So you have Plan A, which is the thesis track. You have Plan B, which is the project track. The thesis, as I mentioned, is a little bit more rare with online students because a lot of our online students are a little bit more industry focused and they aren't looking for that academic research experience. However, you certainly could pursue a thesis if you're interested in eventually going on for a PhD. We also offer an online PhD program, so that's something you could certainly pursue online. The thesis is a pretty intensive, as I keep mentioning, longer research project. Generally, you have 9 or more credits of your 30-credit degree that would be geared toward actually doing this research. And it does require you to secure a faculty research advisor before you would apply to the program. So you kind of have a plan about what type of research you'd be doing. This does also require a thesis defense, which is kind of that formal final exam once you've written up your thesis. The project is really, it's a 3-credit project as opposed to like 9 or more credits of thesis. And that does allow you to have a few more electives that you can take if you're doing that project track. And this is it's a less lengthy project. A lot of these are applied. Something maybe that's applicable to your workplace, something that you're doing right now, or something that you'd be interested, some field you'd like to get into. And you'd still be working one-on-one with a faculty member for this project, but it's just about a semester long instead of being multiple semesters usually for that time frame. This does provide an excellent opportunity to demonstrate applied skills or your ability to apply your new systems engineering skill set in whatever setting of industry you work in. So that is a quick overview of all of our master's degree options. And then for the application, I know that Lauren has probably talked with folks about all of these application pieces as well, but just to give you a quick overview, our application does have a rolling admissions process, which means that you could submit your application anytime before a final deadline, which is posted in our application materials. And we can usually get you an application or a review and a response back in about a week, maybe 2 weeks. So the sooner you apply, the sooner you have a complete application with us, the sooner you can know if you were admitted. You do just want to make sure that you meet that final deadline. All materials must be received by the department by that final posted deadline. And I think, Catherine, if you want to put a link to the page that shows the application information, we do have an application checklist on our website. I would encourage everybody to reference that carefully. It's fully comprehensive and it covers everything you need to do to apply and all the deadlines. That checklist also does show minimum requirements to apply to our degrees. And my tip to you is to make sure that your application materials demonstrate that you meet those minimum requirements. So for example, we do have math prerequisites. You have to have taken at least through Calculus 1 and a basic statistics course to apply. If, for example, you never took a course in statistics, but your job uses statistics all the time and you have that skill set, talk to me about how you can demonstrate that in your application. So we do accept, additional statements and things regarding your skill set, but you just want to make sure you address that in the application. GPA is also similar. If you have a GPA just below our 3.0 cutoff, please reach out to me and I can help you strategize how to approach your application with us. Common elements. So we have the same application checklist for all of our different master's degrees. It's the good news is it's pretty simplified. And really the only difference, as it notes here on the slide, is the Plan A requires a faculty advisor prior to submitting your application. The other programs, it's a very similar application process. We do require a current resume or CV. And as with anything that you're submitting your resume or CV to, you want to make sure you have tailored it so that it demonstrates really what about your background fits with our program, what skills you might have already gained from professional experience that will be relevant for our systems engineering program. We do also require a statement of purpose, which is about a 2-page document, and that is your chance to tell us why you're excited about our program, how you think we're going to help you fulfill your professional goals, anything, any story you want to tell us, but we do ask that you meet that 2-page maximum. You don't have to give us the whole story, just whatever you're excited about our program. We do require 3 letters of recommendation as a minimum, and people ask me all the time, who should be writing my letters? So previous faculty are great choices. Professional supervisors or even colleagues that can really speak to your specific skill set in the systems engineering field. We're very flexible, and it's going to be more important that you find somebody who knows you well and can really speak to your skills versus somebody who has a very impressive title. So that's just a suggestion on that. The GRE scores or waiver request is the next piece. And the waiver, any student who has earned a degree from a United States institution is qualified for a GRE waiver. The GRE score requirement will show on your application, and you just have to reach out to our department to get a waiver. So please do not worry if you see a GRE score requirement, you just have to manually go through the process of requesting that waiver. Students who are international and are from a country whose primary official language is not English do also have to submit English proficiency test scores. And then there is a graduate school application fee. So that's a quick overview of everything. Of course, if anybody has questions, I can answer those later in the session. All right, now we'll pass this off to Steve.
Thank you, Ingrid. Yes, so I wanted to speak quickly to the CSU Online student experience and maybe specifically highlight, Lauren obviously did a great job, Ingrid as well, and Tom, some specific student resources that we offer when being attentive to the specific needs of online and distant students. Obviously, some needs are similar to traditional graduate students, but obviously some are unique to kind of the online student experience. So feel free for anybody to jump in and can speak a little bit specific to the student chapter of NCOSE being one very specific benefit to specific to systems engineering for students that pursue this program. One other I wanted to highlight, so library resources, there's a distance library resource team that is attentive to, again, the needs of students accessing library resources at a distance. So you do have the full access to, university databases, electronic journals, and again, the services offered through the library, and they're quite responsive to, again, inquiries that come in through, I believe, a chat function and other outreach to support your kind of research needs and other kind of library resources. One other element that we continue to try to build out, especially specific to our grad student population and those that are seeking, especially those that are seeking a Master's of Science and looking at doing a thesis in terms of writing support. So there is a writing center at CSU and additional writing support specific to graduate students offered through the graduate school. So CSU Online, part of our role is to continue to advocate for, again, the online student needs. So we partner with the graduate school and will continue to do so to create opportunities and support for those that are not on campus. One of the maybe few silver linings that exist with the pandemic and what that has caused for education is to kind of expedite the timeline for a lot of resources to come online and to be available remotely at the university. So again, we've been involved throughout that process to continue to advocate for the online student learner to make sure that their needs are met. Similarly, the Career Center that exists on campus has some tools and resources available at a distance. It doesn't require you to come to campus for any reason. Specifically, and Tom touched on this too, in terms of the makeup of the faculty, having a lot of veteran representation, as well as the veteran discount and military discount that we offer. There are other resources across campus that cater to veteran and adult learners as well, for a whole span of needs and resources. And of course, some of that being navigating the veterans benefits and military benefits that you might be using to pursue your education. A couple others I wanted to highlight. Obviously, tech support is kind of critical at a distance. So we have a help desk team, and we also offer after hours tech support, which is obviously critical for those of you that will be doing much of your coursework, after the traditional office hours. One other place that we support campus programs online is through proctoring, and we're often evaluating our proctoring services to try to identify platforms that are both student friendly and faculty friendly, so that they can create learning assessments that are accessible and effective for those of you that will be doing your assessments remotely. And finally, if anybody, we obviously closely partner with our Student Disability Resources Office for anybody requiring or needing any sort of accommodations throughout their time learning at CSU. So again, part of it, we strive already to have our courses be accessible already, but obviously there's some specific accommodations sometimes that individuals need, and we will work closely with the student and the Student Disability Center to accommodate those.
Awesome. Tom, do you want to talk a little bit about the INCOSY student chapter?
I can,
And
yes.
then move us into the Q&A? That'd be great.
Yes, I can. One of, perhaps again, folks are familiar with INCOSY, the International Council on Systems Engineering, and it's the sort of professional body for systems engineers. And so we have, the student chapter is one piece of it, but we have a variety of kind of interactions with INCOSY that are really geared to serving the students. So one of them is that we do have a student chapter. We, sort of it's fun. We get to get great guest speakers and do all this kind of stuff like that. Another aspect of this is that we are actually, we're on the corporate advisory board for INCOSY, which means that we can offer every student in our program an associate membership in INCOSY free of charge. And then the other sort of very exciting piece of this is that we can also, INCOSY has a set of certifications, associate certified systems engineering, associate systems engineering professional, certified systems engineering professional, and expert systems engineering professional. And the idea is, if you come to Colorado State University and you take our foundations class, which is systems engineering 501, and I believe the number is you pass with a B+, right? Ingrid will look at me to make sure I'm saying the right thing. Then what you get is that meets the requirement for the testing that you would have to do otherwise to get a associate systems engineering professional certification from INCOSE. So the benefit of going through our program and taking that course is that means that you do not have to go and take the test to become an associate systems engineering professional. That's something we kind of built up and worked closely with INCOSE on to be able to do, because we can't offer the tests now to groups of 30 students on campus. And so it's something that is really a nice benefit of being a part of the program. Okay, so maybe with that, then we'll go to the next slide, I think, which just is our prompt for Q&A stuff. Would invite, elicit, please, questions in the chat. And maybe I'll start by answering, I think it was Anthony's question there, right? Which is sort of about, he has a question about electronics and circuit courses and fields and communication theory, and how that kind of fits into our systems engineering program. So a very important point, that as you think about coming back to to the university and to work on your graduate degree, is to choose carefully among the programs that we do have and offer at Colorado State University. So if you peruse the the CSU Online or our department websites, you'll see that systems engineering is one of a variety of online sort of enabled degrees that are provided by our departments in the College of Engineering. There's an online master's in electrical engineering, one in civil engineering, et cetera, et cetera. So part of the point is that you should make sure that that systems engineering is sort of the field that you really do want to be working in. If, for example, you're really interested in the systems engineering of electronics, electronic circuits, or of computational devices, or of systems engineering around security or radar, we have students, we have faculty who study those in particular, do research in that, have industrial experience in those things, and we can really serve your needs in that. If, on the other hand, your interest is really more in, sort of fundamental physics of fields and lasers and communication theory, then perhaps the most applicable degree for you might be in the electrical engineering online program. So, my advisement is sort of go through and look in each one of these degrees, sort of what the courses are that are required, and the core courses. You can get a taste for what the elective optionality is in each one of these things, and start to plan out a little bit, or pick and choose the courses that you think you might be interested in. And, obviously, if those interests align, and you've seen you peruse this the INCOSE website, and you sort of say, boy, that's a really interesting topic. That's the kind of work that I want to do, and it's in systems engineering. Then apply to our systems engineering program. I will absolutely not be offended, of course, if you go and apply to the civil engineering program, if that's really where your interests lie. That would be totally appropriate.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom. We have a couple questions in the Q&A that might be, they kind of are clumping together. So I think that could be good. And then we'll move into the other ones we're getting as well. Maybe Ingrid and Tom tag team on this one. Standard course load and timeline for online students. And if you're also working full time, is it doable to take 2 classes per semester, et cetera, those kind of questions.
Yeah, I can start. So in terms of the general program timeline, there's really nothing too set. Again, name of the game is flexibility. And so we have students who take between, 2 years, if they're going almost full time, it might take between 2 years all the way up to 4 or 5 years, just depending on how many classes you are taking per semester. There's no real time limit. I mean, 10 years is the official time limit, but obviously with a master's degree, students are graduating well in advance of 10 years. So I would say there's really no rush to get through the degrees. You can take it at whatever pace works for your schedule. 2 classes per semester while working full-time is doable, but consider that there's a difference between working full-time at 40 hours a week and working full-time at 60 hours a week. And so it kind of, I have a lot of students who are close to that 40 hours that might be taking 2 classes per semester, and that's definitely doable. The time estimate is about 9 to 12 hours outside of the classroom per course, averaged over the course of the semester. And so, if you're taking 2 classes, you might be looking at, 20 to 25 hours a week working on just those 2 classes. So that just maybe gives you an idea of the time frame on that.
Maybe just to add to that, I think in terms of duration, Ingrid, I would say, you sort of talked about that, for the example, for the Master of Engineering, that typically that's a 10 courses program. And so if you're thinking about taking 2 courses per semester over that sort of time frame and maybe sneaking in a summer one or something like that, you're talking about a 2.5-year program to get a Master of Engineering at that pace. And just as a note, we do offer summer courses, a variety of summer courses, so it shouldn't, that is not a constraint to your progress.
Awesome. Let's see. The next one we got, have you seen students in the Master of Engineering program also take the PMP exam as a result of classes like CIS 600?
Yeah, sorry, Tom. We do, so we certainly do have students that do the PMP exam. There's actually, the CIS 670 is a course that would apply to your degree and is specifically for prepping for the PMP exam. So we have lots of students that take the CIS 600, which is that intro project management course, and then move into the 670 for the PMP prep. Absolutely something that's an option, and I do see students do that, and both of those courses can apply to your degree.
Wonderful. Okay, next question. Are there any preferred semesters for students to begin their degree, fall versus spring?
No, so we do accept admissions fall or spring. As Tom mentioned, we do also have some summer courses, although we do not accept new students for summer semester, but you could start, if you were admitted for fall, you could even take a class before you actually formally begin the program. I would say we have a very equal amount of courses offered fall and spring. We have a lot of our introductory courses offered both fall and spring. So there's not really any disadvantage to starting one or the other, kind of whatever fits your schedule and what the next deadline would be, I would say, for applications.
Wonderful. Tom, this might be a you question. So we have a student who's currently working in the nuclear industry, specifically in spent fuel management, and they're wondering if we have any department faculty who have research topics in that area and are open to research topics from graduate students as well.
Yeah, so I would say we don't have any faculty that are sort of specific to the nuclear industry, just because we don't, there's not that much of that going on in Colorado right now. But but we haven't had a number of students who are engaged with the nuclear industry. We've had folks who work in spent fuels management, actually. So there's a PhD dissertation that was a couple of years ago where we did do that. And I know that we have a number of graduate students who are also working in, in the nuclear power industry, would be specific there. And we also have a number of students who are working at the Department of Energy National Lab Systems, and so therefore are engaged with, test and evaluation of nuclear weapon systems and stuff like that. So the broad answer there is, absolutely folks are open to that. And, again, especially where these challenges that are associated with the nuclear fuels industry and nuclear power industry sort of are systems engineering challenges. That's the kind of thing that we have been working on. I know I've got a student who's working on human factors in nuclear power industry. We have a student who's working on requirements engineering in the nuclear spent fuels industry. So those kind of things.
Wonderful. Okay, the next one is maybe an Ingrid question. Can you describe the process of navigating the prereqs for the non-CSE electives for those of us without an engineering background? In other words, are there sufficient courses which do not require heavy math engineering prereqs from which to build your 10-course path towards your Master of Engineering?
Yeah, so this is a great question. We definitely have a variety of electives that are not even heavily technical math based. For example, we have a lot of students that are interested in taking CIS and business type courses. Those a selection of those can apply as electives. We have courses like industrial organizational psychology, which some students like to do. So there are certainly non-heavy technical courses that you can choose for your electives. The other thing that a lot of our students actually end up doing is you can take additional systems courses as your electives. So if you look through our suggested elective list and you look through some of the other departments that are offering courses online and you think, well, none of this sounds great, but boy, I'd like to take a lot more systems courses, you are free to do that. So it's definitely, we have lots of students that have backgrounds even a little bit more closer aligned with business and those types of things, and they can find plenty of relevant coursework. The other, specific to the prerequisites for the non-CIS electives, typically, you're going to have to kind of look at what prerequisites are listed for the course you're interested in and see if you have that skill set, something similar to that. You'd really be reaching out to probably whichever department is offering the course to see, to gauge if you have the right background, and oftentimes they can give you like a prereq override. We have a lot of students, for example, who maybe got a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering. They want to take some mechanical engineering graduate courses, and they can coordinate with that department to make sure that their bachelor's degree has met the prereqs listed. So that's very common.
Wonderful. That was a lot of questions. Everyone did great. I guess I'd be curious too, Lauren and Steve, are there any questions that you commonly get from CSU Online, for people interested in CSU Online, that you haven't already addressed? Maybe about like the online experience, or
yeah, I'd have to think a little bit. I think that a lot of the honestly, one of the main questions is, will my degree say CSU Online? So Ingrid already covered that one. So I would say that's probably the biggest one. Yeah, nothing else I can really think of. Sometimes, oh, you know what? Sometimes students ask about proctoring for exams. I don't know who would have any, Ingrid, maybe, or Tom, if you could provide some input on that and how that works.
Yeah, so great question. We have, there's kind of, and Lauren actually mentioned, there's a ton of different types of activities and assessments and things you'll be doing in your classes. And a lot of our courses either don't have an exam at all. It's very project based. There's a lot of homework assignments and things, but there's not actually like a sit down exam. Or there's maybe a take home exam. That's also a very common format. There's a few students, a few classes that do have that written exam that the proctor service, you would use a proctoring service for. And so I think ProctorU is currently the service that would be used, and that is covered through CSU Online. Students do not have to worry about any of that. You really just have to schedule a time that works with your professor. That's usually outlined in your syllabus, how the proctoring would get set up. And most of that proctoring can be done online. I don't think we have any courses right now that do an actual paper exam where you'd have to go to a testing center.
wonderful. Next question we've gotten, can someone talk to the veteran discount and perhaps what that looks like?
Yes. So if you are currently currently a veteran, or if you're currently, for students who are in the program, you're more than welcome to email me each semester, and I'm happy to give you that discount. I believe it's a 15% discount, and there's a specific code that you would need. I don't know, Steve, if you have any other input on that, but basically just talk to me about that.
Yeah, you touched that. So in addition to what we've talked about already, CSU Online also kind of manages the enrollment registration process for all of our online programs and courses. So we would be the office you would work with any sort of registration related concerns or challenges. Typically, we strive to make the registration processes kind of straightforward, as an online shopping experience could be. But yeah, as Lauren noted, there's a point in the registration process where you are able to submit a code, and that would be one of the instances where that would be useful. So again, you just need to reach out to Lauren and she can facilitate that. And sometimes there's some verification process that goes into that just to kind of clarify eligibility, but it's typically a pretty straightforward process.
Wonderful. Some other questions that I had that I think we get a little bit, specifically talking about the MS Plan A. How do you suggest finding an advisor before you finish up your application?
Yeah, so our application checklist has a little bit of information about this. So certainly I would encourage students to read up about kind of what types of information would be included. Really, the goal is that you would reach out to faculty. It looks like Catherine put links to our research pages in the chat. So you can look at the different faculty research areas. You can see which faculty are doing. You can look at their pages for current projects and things. And so you would just reach directly out to them and introduce yourself. You're interested in these areas. You might include part of your resume that's relevant so the faculty get an idea of what experience you have. And you would start the conversation from there. So a lot of our faculty are, very open to hearing from prospective students and chatting about your research interests and your interest in the program. And so that's how you get the conversation started. It's usually an email where you introduce yourself, and you can find a match that way.
Yeah, and I could speak from the faculty perspective or whatever, which is that, it's a great way to start a conversation to say, hey, I read that paper you wrote last year and it sounds really exciting, and I'm interested in the same topic. I wonder if we could apply it to the things that I'm interested in, or, that's an easy conversation to have, an easy intro, doesn't have to be high stress. And, I think all of the faculty are used to and capable of taking students and starting those conversations. The other thing, of course, though, is that many times you have to sort of approach multiple people to be able to find a spot, right? So it's sort of it's a little bit of the luck of the draw, a little bit of who has space and time next semester to be able to take on a new student and all those kind of things. So I think the point is a little bit of effort on your part and a little bit of research can go a long way. So hopefully that's some encouragement on that front.
Excellent, thank you. So I think we have another question. I think this is an Ingrid question. Would a student need an advisor if they only needed 6 to 12 hours towards a doctoral degree at another university?
So I'm understanding this to mean that the student is not applying to our program, but just would want to take some classes with us. Hopefully that is a correct interpretation. And you would, okay, excellent, thank you. So yeah, if you just want to take some classes with us, you can certainly do that, and you don't even need to apply to the program. We definitely have availability in our classes for maybe a non-degree seeking student who just wants a specific skill set, or just wants to try out our program. You can start with some classes. If you're considering ever applying to our program, I would encourage you to reach out to me so we can kind of strategize what your end goal is. But but you don't need an advisor. And for any ME or MS Plan B applications, you can also apply without securing an advisor ahead of time.
Also, I just put our class registration instructions in the chat. So if you're curious about how to register for classes, that's in the chat as well.
Wonderful. And I think the last question to wrap up the evening was one we got asked a little bit earlier. If you're someone who's in a defense industry right now, is there a preferred degree that would be better for defense ME, MS?
Maybe I can aim for that one. In my opinion, I don't think it really matters. I think that a master's degree is really great. I think it can be, you know, sort of recognized and a prerequisite and a nice skill set for sort of your career advancement goals. If you're trying to stay in the defense industry, you're trying to, you know, grow your skills in systems engineering. But, you know, I think the things that Ingrid kind of talked about are sort of the, you know, near term or more immediate, or even sort of what the basins of attraction around each one of these degrees are. My estimation would be that 1 or 2 years down the road, it doesn't make that much of a difference which degree you have obtained in terms of the way that people recognize it. The primary difference, you know, for example, in the thesis, Master of Science or things like that is really in that it gives you an opportunity to do these projects or theses wherein you work closely with faculty. We sort of get to do an intensive research or you know, one-on-one education process. And that's a unique and I think a really fruitful experience for a lot of students. So to me, you know, I would sort of say in terms of the big takeaways or the big or what's going to happen in your career advancement or something, I would sort of assert that they're relatively equivalent. The main objective and the way that I would really assert that you should try to think about coming back to grad school and what's the reason to work so hard and take all these efforts and do all this kind of stuff is about, you know, what you would like to learn. What's the skill set that you'd like to come out the other side with? What's the you know, the way that you would like to sort of spend your time educating yourself, developing your own intellect, and really emerging with new skills and you know, hopefully new appreciation and excitement to be in the field of systems engineering. So maybe with that then, Catherine, I'll just, we're out of time, and I'll just invite again that if folks have questions for us that pop up afterwards, or you sort of have more things that you want to try to discuss, all of the people on this call are open and inviting of your input and correspondence. So via email, via phone, whatever works these days is all totally great. With that, then I just want to thank our panelists, of course, for being here and transmitting this information. And then also thanks to you, the students, for attending. And I do hope that we get the chance to have you in class. I'd be excited and you know, would be absolutely delighted to be able to welcome you to CSU. So with that, thanks so much. Have a great evening, and we'll look forward to more correspondence. Bye.
Thank you.